Hey everyone, welcome to Wealth Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Reynolds, independent financial advisor, owner of Elevation Financial. Thanks for joining me today. As always, love to have you with me. Appreciate it. Question of the day: should I get my life or disability insurance from my employer? As always, I love questions that come up as part of my conversations with clients. I love topics that come up as part of the planning process. This comes up a lot. So I'm going to talk about it today and unpack a little bit of my opinions and answers to the question, should I get my life or disability insurance from my employer? Should I get it through work? So let's talk about this. So life and disability insurance are two forms of insurance that I recommend for just about everybody I work with. I shouldn't say just about everybody because there's always exceptions. There's not, life insurance is not right for everyone at any given stage of life, but for many cases, it is important for a lot of people. Life insurance is there to protect your income for people that rely on your income. So if you have people that rely on your income, spouse, kids, family members, then that's why it's important. Disability insurance, also important, and it's probably more important for more people, especially if they are working, because that protects your income in the event of a disability. So these two forms of insurance are pretty important protections for a lot of people that I work with. And so when we go through the planning process and we talk about these forms of insurance, I see this pop up a lot. The case where they often default to getting their life insurance and or their disability insurance through their job, through work. This is pretty common. This happens a lot. A lot of people just kind of default to that and they accept what is offered through work, and they just kind of feel like they've checked that box and they can move on. But is that always the best option? I'm going to talk about some pros and cons, as well as my opinion overall, as always, as you may expect, on getting life insurance, disability insurance through work. Let's start with life insurance. So first off, what are the pros or the upsides of getting your life insurance through work, through your employer? One is it's convenient. It's really easy just to kind of say, yep, I'll check that box. They're offering me, a certain amount of, maybe it's free or super low cost life insurance through my job. When I first enroll in benefits, I'm going to just kind of check the little box or mark it off and say, sure, I'll take it. And there it is. And it's convenient. Just kind of by default lets you just opt in, and it's super easy. So the convenience factor is very real when getting life insurance through work. Also, the rates are probably going to be pretty low. The rates are going to be very competitive. It's a big group pool you're working with, and so you're probably going to have pretty low rates when getting life insurance through work. Pretty common to see really competitive rates. Also, it's sometimes a better rate for people that have medical conditions. So if you have pre-existing conditions or medical issues, then it's often easier to get lower rates or better rates or access to life insurance through a larger group pool through work. And so that can be an advantage. If there's something that's maybe preventing you from getting independent life insurance, but through work, you're kind of part of a larger group workplace pool, then that could be advantageous to you because you might get a lower rate or have access to coverage you may not otherwise have access to. Question is popping in on Facebook Live as I'm chatting, so I'm going to put that on screen here. Leslie says, I keep getting free accidental death and dismemberment offers from my credit union. Free is good, but it's probably not enough. So accidental death and dismemberment, those aren't typically ideal. They're sort of, in my opinion, sometimes kind of gimmicky. A lot of this is already covered by things like normal health insurance, disability insurance. These accidental death and dismemberment policies aren't really always necessary. They can be kind of gimmicky. So again, life insurance, disability, health insurance, those are generally there to cover things like that come up. So be very wary and very discerning when you're offered accidental death and dismemberment policies. And if your credit union is offering, it's probably because they make money on it and they want to sell a product. So just, approach with caution. Great question, Leslie. Thanks. So those are the pros of getting life insurance through an employer. The convenience factor, the low rates, disability or rates available if you have medical issues. What are the downsides? What are the cons? These are pretty important. The downsides are fairly significant, and I want to talk through them. So one is, the biggest factor to me is when you leave your job, because most people don't stay at their job, at least these days, for 30 years or more. They do move jobs at some point, and you're going to leave your job at some point. And when you do leave your job, there is the chance you may not be able to convert it. Often you cannot convert it. Sometimes you can, it kind of varies, but there's always the risk that you will not be able to convert that life insurance policy and take it with you. It may be kind of expiring with the job that you left. And that means you'll be left without life insurance and you'll have to reapply somewhere else. That causes problems because the next job may not offer life insurance, or if they do, the rates could be higher. And so you're having to reapply at an older age, at an age where your premium will have gone up because you're older. Also, one of the cons of buying through work is you may not be able to get enough or what you need. You may not be able to insure enough. Sometimes there are limits on the amount of life insurance you can get through work. And a good rule of thumb is to, start at maybe 10 to 12 times your income as a life insurance starting point. There are other factors to consider, but that's at least kind of a ballpark to create as a starting point. And many times your employer won't offer enough coverage to even meet that minimum requirement. Also, this is my opinion, but I think that group plans encourage people to underinsure. The group plans through work, they encourage people to underinsure when it comes to life insurance because they usually default to a very low amount. They say, oh, we'll give you $25,000 in life insurance for free, or maybe $50,000 included for free. And people say, oh, great, I get life insurance. I'm checking the box. I feel like I've done my responsible thing and I'm good. For the vast majority of people, I would argue that $25,000 to $50,000 in life insurance is not nearly enough. If there is someone depending on your income, then that is not going to go very far. The idea behind life insurance is that is an investable payout that those who are left behind relying on your income can then invest and generate an income, or at least have an income for a good period of time to last them until something changes. So I think that workplace policies tend to encourage people to underinsure. So bottom line is I'm a big fan of having an individual life insurance policy. I do not typically recommend getting it through work. There are certain cases where it makes sense. It's not a one size fits all, but if you don't have any health conditions that are preventing you from having options, if there are other factors that kind of line up properly, then in general, it's really worthwhile to look at an individual life insurance policy, maybe a 20, 25-year term policy, because that's portable. You take that with you. You can go to whatever job you want to, and your life insurance is not dependent on your job. It is an individual policy that you have locked in a rate with at a certain age, and you won't have to reapply when you switch jobs. Because again, when you reapply for life insurance at an older age, your premiums are higher. Medical conditions may have surfaced that may make you uninsurable or make your rates even higher. So it's advantageous to lock in your life insurance early at a younger age and independent of work for the most part. So think that through as you're thinking of the pros and cons and what you're doing about life insurance, whether it's through work or not. All right, next, disability insurance. This has some similarities. Disability insurance, again, is designed to protect your income if you become disabled. Disabled could be, if you have an active job, manual labor, let's say you work construction and you lose some limbs, that could obviously prevent you from doing your job in the same way as before. And so disability insurance would kick in. It could be neurological or cognitive issues or all sorts of things that could happen that could prevent you from doing your job. Many episodes ago, I did an interview with my life insurance agent, Ashi, and we talk about the deep dive into disability insurance and why most people overlook it, but it's a really good thing to consider. So go back and check that one out if you want to as well. But what are the pros of buying disability insurance through work, through a group policy? Again, similar, convenience. You can just check a box. You can kind of opt in. It's very frictionless. It's very seamless, and you're good to go. So the convenience factor is also there for disability insurance. Again, the rates, similar to life insurance, you can get a lower rate typically through work as a big group policy. So that has some advantages. Again, same thing with life insurance. If you have medical conditions, the rates can be more advantageous, or you might have access to policies that you wouldn't have access to independently if you have some sort of medical history that would surface as an issue. The cons are very similar. The downsides are similar to life insurance. When you leave your job, a likelihood you may not be able to convert the policy, and you'll have to then reapply for disability insurance through your next job or independently. And again, time has passed. You've become older. Medical issues could have surfaced. All these things can happen, which could reduce your chances of insurability at a favorable rate later on, whereas before you could have locked it in early on. The next job may not offer disability insurance. Again, same thing. You may not have that option at your next job. And so you may be forced to look for it independently. But again, the rates may not be favorable, or you may not be insurable at that point. Here's a big one that's different from life insurance. So disability insurance has some tax ramifications. So if you pay for your disability insurance with pre-tax income, let's say the premiums are paid with pre-tax money through an employer. So it comes out of your paycheck pre-tax. That may seem like a good thing because you're saving a little bit of money in the premiums, but on the back end, if you have to use the benefits are taxable. So that means if you have, let's say, $5,000 a month coming in disability benefits because you've become disabled, that $5,000 is counted as gross income and is taxable. So you get less of that. You get the net, which is going to be like 30 something, 35,000 or whatever. So it's going to be a smaller amount that you actually get as take home pay. The flip side is if you pay for benefits with after-tax dollars, if you pay those premiums after tax, then the benefits are tax-free. So the $5,000 all comes to you tax-free, which gives you more spendable income to replace your income that you no longer have because you can't work. So the benefit goes much farther if you pay for it with after-tax dollars if you have to use it. When you pay for disability insurance through work, some employers do give you the option of paying with before or after-tax dollars. Some don't. Some say, hey, it's just part of your package. It comes out of your paycheck pre-tax. That's just the way it is, and you can't control that. Even if they do give you the option, most people don't understand the difference, and they just pick the pre-tax option. It's typically the default. And therefore, if you do have to use that disability benefit, those benefits are going to be taxed. So it's an advantage to try to pay for it with after-tax dollars if possible, as an individual policy if possible, because then the benefit is tax-free if you do have to use it. All right, so Leslie has a question popping up on screen via Facebook Live. Leslie asks, what if you don't have access from work to a disability policy, but you would like to get some, but have pre-existing conditions or a higher risk type of job with a higher rate of disability? Yeah, it's a good question. You'll have to apply and see kind of what quotes come back or what your options are. If you have some sort of pre-existing condition, that could be a factor. It depends on what the condition is specifically. A lot of times, if enough time has passed, pre-existing conditions aren't quite as much of a barrier as they used to be. For example, I've heard of cases where cancer used to be, there was no way you could get life or disability insurance if you had cancer. Now, if you've been in remission for a certain amount of time, certain types of cancer don't necessarily keep you from getting life insurance policies or disability insurance policies. So it really depends. So your best bet is to apply, see what you come up with, see what kinds of options you get back, and see what approvals you get on disability. And if anyone's out there listening and doesn't know where to go, send me a note. I'll be happy, even if we're not a client or if you're not working with me, I'll give you a referral to someone who can help you out. So feel free to hit me up, even if you're not a client, and I'll definitely point you in the right direction for that. So again, the big issue for me with disability insurance is that post-tax, pre-tax issue. So again, most people, I would venture to say, my opinion is what I'm seeing, most people pay for it pre-tax through work. And therefore, if they do have to use it, those benefits will be taxable. So we try to make sure that in most cases, or in many cases, if possible, if all things line up appropriately, I would like to see people get both life and disability insurance independently outside of work. With life insurance, the portability is the issue. Locking in the rates is the issue. With disability insurance, same thing, portability, rates, and more importantly, or I guess also importantly, is the taxable income, the tax-free benefit that you get when paying for it with after-tax dollars if you do have to use it. That can be a significant factor. That can be the difference in thousands of dollars per month based on how you pay for the premiums. So what's my opinion? My opinion is get it independently if you can, if it's possible. So again, so many factors. There may be mitigating circumstances that mean that you don't have the option to get it independently, or maybe work is truly a better option for various reasons, medically or otherwise. But if it's all the same and there's no other barriers to getting life and disability insurance and you have those options, I recommend taking a serious look at getting it independently, not through work, because of the portability, locking in the rates properly, not defaulting to underinsuring, and also making sure that you can pay for disability with after-tax dollars to make sure the benefit is favorably tax-free. So kind of just think through it. Just be intentional. There's not a one size fits all. advice for somebody is not the right advice for somebody else. But I think it's important we be intentional. A lot of us just kind of default to enrolling in whatever's offered to us, and we don't really think it through. So I think as long as we're thinking it through and we're being intentional about our decisions, then that's the most important thing. Because if you intentionally make an informed decision, then you likely are arriving at a better result, as opposed to just kind of not really thinking. Whoops, I bumped my microphone there. As opposed to just not thinking about it and just kind of accepting defaults. I try to resist accepting defaults in life, because sometimes those defaults aren't what's best for us. So with that, like I mentioned before, if you have questions or if you'd like a referral to someone that I trust, feel free to reach out. You can find me on my website, as always, which is elevationfinancial.com. You can contact me through my contact page if you want to just send me a note for a quick question, or if you'd like to schedule a longer session and just get some Q&A going and kind of pick my brain a little bit. I do offer complimentary 45-minute money sessions. Click the friendly button on my homepage, and you can schedule an appointment online. Easy peasy. With that, as always, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate you being a listener. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. All right, podcast recording in the can. Leslie, as always, love it that you're here. Thank you. You have the best questions, and I always love having people join me during the live session. It makes me happy. I have more fun with it, having people there with me. So Leslie has one more on screen. Thanks for putting up my long, sometimes silly questions. So, okay, thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it. Your questions are not at all silly. Your questions are awesome. You think through things really well, and you ask thoughtful questions that are super important. So don't ever stop. So with that, again, thanks. I appreciate my live viewers as always. This will go to YouTube and Facebook as soon as I click end, and it'll be there after the fact too. So you can share it with other people if you want to. So if you know somebody in your life that could use the information, feel free to share this video with them or share the podcast when it comes out tomorrow morning. And always love having my information kind of shared with people that need it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. See you next time.